God bless America. Hello, everybody. I am the Talk Radio Protege. This is the Protege program. Thank you so much for joining me. I have a few items that I want to talk to you about today as far as the news goes, but first I want your opinion on something. If you'll go down to the comments and let me know. I'm still working on the Roe v. Wade video. I am somewhat confident that it will be ready for Saturday, but it's going to be very, very long. In fact, it would not surprise me if this video is 3 hours. Hours, H-O-U-R-S long. So, I would like to produce a shorter, too long didn't watch style version of the video. I can do that two ways. I can either chop the 3 hours up into highlights and present that to you, or I can present you with a synopsis version kind of thing. I'm not sure how that would come out, but it would be in the style of my usual kind of videos. Basically, I would just watch my own 3 hour long video, take notes on what the highlights were, and then present those to you. Or I can chop it up and present the highlights to you. So you'll have the 3 hour full length video and you'll have the highlights version, or you'll have the 3 hour full length video and the Cliff Notes version. So go down into the comments of this video. Let me know which one of those you want, if you wouldn't mind. I would greatly appreciate it. Now let's get into the news. This story from Fox News: Fury, as feminist activist, says she's confused seeing black man with pro-NRA and Tea Party bumper stickers. Now, at first glance, what does this make you think? I'll let you mull that one over a little bit, and we're going to start reading. An activist author ignited a social media firestorm on Thursday after saying she was left very confused seeing a black man with a pro-NRA and Tea Party bumper sticker on his car. Let's read the tweet. This tweet has been deleted, but this is a screenshot from Fox News. Out on the road the other day, I saw an affluent black man driving a BMW with two bumper stickers. One was pro-NRA and the other one was a Tea Party sticker that read, "Don't tread on me." This left me very confused. Now, there's a slew of different interpretations of this tweet, I think. There's not one right tweet. I don't think there's one right tweet, interpretation of this tweet. I think there are many, and there are reasons to consider them all. First off, there's the inference that she is a racist, that she can't tell the difference between two black people. Now, I don't think that's necessarily the case because she describes this guy as affluent. If she can't tell the difference between two black people, then I don't think she would be capable of saying that she saw an affluent black man, unless she thinks that they're all affluent. I think that you could say that this is racism on the grounds that she thinks all black people think the same exact way, so it's confusing that she would see a black person who appears to be conservative and would be confused. You could say, well, this means that she thinks that all black people vote the same way. Maybe they don't think the same way, but they vote the same way, so it's confusing to see this sticker. In all things considered, I don't think that that the first thing that people would interpret when they see this tweet is that this woman thinks that black people, that this woman was confused because she thinks that this black guy is voting against his interests. Now, you could say she's assuming she knows what this black man's interests are. You could say she's assuming that she knows better than this black guy what he ought to be voting for. Now, I think that, let's say it this way. Most people that are politically active think that they know the correct way to vote. I don't think you would vote the way that you vote if you didn't think it was correct. So obviously, you think that people that don't vote the way you're voting are not voting the correct way. Okay? I think it is not hypocritical to say that you have the right to vote the way you want, but I think you're voting incorrectly. You see, I would never compel someone by force to vote the way that I think they should vote. But I also don't think that it is necessary to say the way you're voting is the right way to vote if I don't agree with it. I don't think that's hypocritical to maintain those two points of view. Now let's scroll down. Let's read this woman's justification for her tweet. She attempted to defend her tweet, saying she was merely confused and didn't mean to tell Black Americans who they should support. It's not about skin tone, it's about people voting against their own interests. The same can be said for anyone who isn't rich and white, she wrote in the tweet. So, she's still playing the identity politics card. She's just now playing it that Republicans and conservatives don't have the best interests of non-white, poor non-whites at heart. Now, I don't think that that could be further from the truth, but this video is not about that per se. I think there's another statement that she made down here concerning this tweet. She accused the Tea Party movement and the GOP of not representing everyone and helping only rich white men. Amid the turmoil, the author erased the controversial tweet and explained the reason for the deletion. I deleted a tweet that questioned why African Americans would support the Tea Party, and people saw that as racist. I do not see the GOP working in the best interests of people of color or women. I never said anyone should vote a particular way. I said it confused me. So, here's her rationale. Her understanding of the Tea Party, misguided though it may be, is that the Tea Party and the Republican Party are support policies that do not support non-whites and women. So, for those reasons, she's confused that a black person would vote for the Tea Party. Now, here's the thing. This should tell you one of two things. Either you are wrong about the Tea Party and about Republicans, and they do have the best interests of blacks and women at heart, or the black man has become so affluent that he is no longer black, that he has left the realm of blackness, and that he is now a de facto rich white man. Because if the Republican Party only has the interests of rich white men at heart and only supports policies that would support rich white men, then this black person would never ever support Republicans and the Tea Party. It takes a well-informed populace to vote according to their interests. A poorly informed public will not vote in their best interests. I think that that's all I need to say about the subject for the well-informed of my audience to get the point. The uninformed of my audience are not going to get the point no matter what it is that I say. Now, the next story that I want to talk about, if I told you that Democrats would be denouncing a booming economy, would you laugh at me, or would you think, yeah, I guess I wouldn't be surprised about that? You know, when I saw that Bill Maher was saying, bring on the recession, I thought, you know, that's really cold, but I don't think that I think that Bill Maher is a specific kind of crazy, so I don't think that the Democrats at large would be able to point to a good economic situation and say, this is bad. But apparently they did just that. From the Washington Examiner, Dems blast booming jobs report and Trump's worker agenda as reckless. That sound that you're hearing is my face going through a brick wall. Let me show you this lunacy. Democrats saw nothing positive in the new June jobs report that highlighted 213,000 jobs added. Instead, the Democratic Party issued a statement criticizing President Trump's jobs agenda as reckless. Do you remember what Obama and Biden and the Democrats were talking about? Do you remember the Obama jobs bill? Do you remember Joe Biden's famous three-letter word, J-O-B-S? I can't even say that with a straight face. It was such garbage. Do you remember that? They insisted that we needed to create jobs. And now, thanks to the Trump administration and Trump's policies, the economy is creating jobs at a breakneck speed. And the Democrats are calling that reckless. We talked about in, I believe it was yesterday's video, why a labor shortage is good for workers. Now I'm starting to think, I've been thinking about that a little bit today, and I'm starting to realize why the Democrats would criticize this jobs report. But let's read some of their statements before we talk about that. This tweet from Nancy Pelosi. The June jobs report shows what is at stake from the brewing storm of rising health costs, spiraling trade uncertainty, and an economy being hollowed out to enrich big corporations and the wealthiest 1%. Americans deserve better than the GOP's raw deal. Now, time out. This is going to take me a second to find what she's talking about. The June jobs report shows what is at stake. Okay, what is at stake means? That means what we're in danger of losing. From the brewing storm of rising health costs, spiraling trade uncertainty, and an economy being hollowed out to enrich big corporations. What does the June jobs report show? The June jobs report shows that businesses can't fill their employment positions fast enough. How does that demonstrate anything concerning rising health costs, spiraling trade uncertainty, and an economy being hollowed out? How? H-A-O-W. How? That's not the meme way to spell how. Forget it. How? I can't understand it. I'm either too stupid or too sensical to understand this tweet. I don't understand how a labor shortage points to a calamity concerning rising health costs and trade uncertainty. We talked yesterday about why a trade shortage is a good thing. It's because it puts the pressure on the employer when it comes to making a hiring decision. It takes pressure off of the employee. We'll talk more about this. I want to get to the last bit of this article. The DNC chair and former Labor Secretary Tom Perez released the following statement. With slow wage growth, rising healthcare premiums, and skyrocketing gas prices across the country, Trump's reckless policies are hurting millions of hardworking families. Trump and Republicans in Congress have been so determined to undermine workers that they held a Supreme Court seat hostage for nearly a year in order to nominate an aggressively anti-union justice who became the deciding vote in last week's disgraceful decision in the Janus case. Now, let me remind you what Janus was all about. Janus was about a employee for a public, for the public sector, for the federal government, who did not want to be forced to pay dues to the public sector union. And the Supreme Court decided, yeah, you don't have to pay those dues. You can't be compelled to pay those dues. Tom Perez thinks that you should be compelled to pay those dues. This is all part of the Republican playbook. For decades, Republicans and their wealthy corporate allies have been chipping away at workers' rights, weakening unions, and depressing wages, all while giving massive tax cuts to the top 1%, and Janus is their most dangerous attack yet. Trump and Republicans in Congress are trying to build a winner-take-all economy that enriches their wealthy friends and saddles working families with the bill. Democrats want to create good-paying jobs in an economy that works well for everyone, and we will continue to stand shoulder to shoulder with workers and with our brothers and sisters in the labor movement as they fight for wages, benefits, and the livelihood they deserve. Now, he's talked a lot about labor unions, and this is starting, this in hours, as hours have gone by, has shed some light on my understanding of why the Democrats are so terrified of a powerful economy. Because a labor shortage detracts from the power of the labor unions. Let me explain. If you caught yesterday's video, then you know why a labor shortage is good for the economy. But let me attempt to explain it in brief here. A labor shortage is good for the economy as I said moments ago, because it puts pressure on the employer in the hiring process rather than the employee. Let me demonstrate by explaining what a labor surplus means. A labor surplus is when there are more employees than jobs to be filled. For every job that needs to be filled, there are multiple applicants to that position. If one person wants to hold out for a job to come around that offers higher wages, an employer can always go and find someone of relatively similar skill who is willing to work for lower wages. This empowers the labor union because it makes the labor union the only entity that can wield the power to demand higher wages. In a labor shortage, there are fewer applicants per job position. That means that you're less likely to be competing against someone for a job position with whom your skills and experience are similar. This means that you can demand higher wages. And then the employer has a real trade-off decision to make. In a labor surplus, the employer must choose between two employees of similar skills and experience, one of whom wants more pay than the other. In a labor shortage, an employer is more likely to have to choose between an employee with more experience and more skills who wants more pay, and an employee with fewer skills and less experience that might settle for less pay. So the employer now has a real decision to make, and the employee with more skills and experience can actually, of his own volition and his own bargaining power, demand higher pay. This takes away from the power of the unions and boosts wages. It boosts wages. The Pelosi and Perez are lamenting slow wage growth. Well, a labor shortage is a spectacular way, at least according to my understanding of the economy. I am welcome to criticism that might demonstrate to me that this is not the case, but so far I think it's the case. A labor shortage is an excellent way to boost wages because it allows for skilled and experienced employees to demand higher pay. We talked about this in yesterday's video. Please consult that video for more information concerning labor shortages. But now I'm going to move on to our last story of the day. Let me just make sure I'm still recording. This opinion piece from Liz Peek. Democrats are furious about Trump in the Supreme Court. They have only Obama to blame. Now, this is not what I think the Democrats are furious over the Supreme Court about. I don't think Democrats are far-sighted enough to look down the road and see Ginsburg retiring. I think their furor over Kennedy retiring is evidence of that. You know, if Democrats had seen the retirement of Kennedy coming, then they might have been fighting harder for legislative victories in the Senate and the House. They might have been warning people about this retirement coming. Apparently, you know, I'm just thinking about this now. Apparently, Democrats think that Supreme Court appointees are literally there for eternity, and are only just now coming to grips with the fact that Kennedy is retiring from the Supreme Court. So, as conservatives look to the future and they see aging Supreme Court justices, they are thinking there's opportunity there. There's opportunity for us to get someone in the Supreme Court that's going to uphold the Constitution. But Democrats are only looking at the current crisis concerning their agenda in the Supreme Court as it relates to Justice Kennedy. So, I think this is a decent read. You can feel free to go and read it yourself if you like. I just wanted to share this piece with you a little bit. That's going to do it for this video. I hope that you guys enjoyed. Leave a like if you did. Hit subscribe and hit the bell for notifications so that you don't miss a single video. Don't forget to let me know in the comments. Highlight reel of the Roe v. Wade video or my TLDR version of the Roe v. Wade video in conjunction with the 3-hour-long video. Thanks again so much for watching. I hope that you'll come back and join me next time. Until then, have a good night and a great weekend, and God bless.